Hi there, this is head coach Steve Hopkins with the Jordan River Group, and I'm bringing you another segment on compassion here. And so I'm on site in the Midwest, and this is just in my brain. I need to get this out to you. So I apologize for location and maybe the video being a little shaky because I don't have my tripod. I just felt like, man, I got to get this out. We're going to be talking about another element of compassion, and we're on this journey right now with compassion, right? And so today, I'm going to just share a few minutes with you on how to be prepared to be compassionate. All right, so we're gonna cover that in the topic. Give you a couple frameworks, a couple values, and why this is important, but a couple frameworks, to kind of think about this, and then also maybe an activity or two at the end for you to do. Okay, but hey, before that, be sure to kind of get through all of this stuff on compassion. There's a lot of good stuff here. I hope that'd be beneficial for you, as well as some of the bonus content. We have some other things, some articles, some poetry, a couple of videos, and if you can, be sure to jump into all of that. All right, and link up with me in going on this compassion journey together. Okay, so being prepared. All right, so what we're going to be talking about today for just a few minutes is self-compassion, being compassionate with ourselves. All right, as a way to be prepared. And so I just wanted to share maybe a story, not really a story, but a scenario. I don't know if this ever happened to you. I'll bet it has. It's happened to me. It's happened to me even the past month, where I had a friend, a companion, a relationship of mine that I could tell really needed some support, right? Really needed me. And I was, to be honest with you, I was feeling tapped out myself. I was like burdened, stressed. I had gone through a couple things with family, and I was just kind of tapped out. In fact, I was kind of ready to link out to a partner and just, ask for somebody to kind of stand with me. Now, I don't know if you've been in that situation. Somebody needs you at the very time you don't feel really fueled up enough to kind of be there for them, right? Yeah. What do we do in those situations? Well, sometimes we kind of tap out and we're like, I wish I could, but I can't. Most of the time, you and I think, are the kind of people that probably lean in anyway, right? But the end result of that experience is that we just don't feel like we could be all we could be in that moment, right? We have other pieces on describing compassion, what happens in compassion, how to activate that. Feel free to reach out, tell a story, add some comments to this, and feel free to reach out to me on that as well if you're interested. But we've had those experiences. So we want to stay out of that situation. All right. We want to be ready. Okay. And so, a couple of the valuable things that are good to think about, and why to invest in self compassion is because of that. It helps us be prepared. All right. Fills our tank. We take care of our business, and it's so that we can be ready with the fullness of who we are to gift ourselves, our presence, our space, our listening, our ability to communicate, that we're there with them in a compassionate moment for somebody else. Okay, so that's really valuable. The other thing is just to feel better, just to be happier, to be more fulfilled. Right, when we're feeling good about ourselves and can be compassionate to ourselves, we feel better. All right, so those are two positive things for you. So let's talk about taking the next steps in this area. All right, the next steps would be maybe pondering a couple frameworks that I'm going to present to you. All right, the first one is just understand what we're talking about. Being kind to yourself instead of being overly critical, right? Judgmental. Sometimes when we think about, I don't know how to be self-compassionate, or what am I talking about when I talk about self-compassion? And you can just think about, well, what would the opposite look like? Well, being really critical of myself, being very judgmental about myself, right? And so when you find yourself in that area, we all kind of go through that. Maybe some others, some of you more than others. Just try to say, what would it look like to put that criticalness away, that judgmental off to the side, and really embrace the idea of being kind to yourself. And then use kindness as your guide, kindness to yourself as opposed to critical or judgmental, right? The other thing is just this another concept is a little bit deeper, maybe, but to be thinking of um, right when we kind of want to label, like, how am I feeling? Who am I in this moment? Well, I could be depressed. I could be regretful. I could be angry at myself, right? And instead of like labeling that. And sometimes it's healthy really to acknowledge, label, call it out, and acknowledge it. But we get into this rut where we say, okay, I'm going to own that. I'm going to wear it for a day or 2 days or 3 days. Remind ourselves that that's who we are as a person, as opposed to what might be going on for us in the moment. And I like to call that more like observation, right? So can we be mindful and more observant as opposed to over identifying who we are today, and that bleeds into who we need to be tomorrow, right? So I know it's a little wordsmithing there, but one of the ways I do this is I literally think like, hey, I'm sitting in the chair across from myself, observing myself, and who do I say I am in this moment? And that's just a reminder then that, okay, what would we say to a friend in that case? We would often say something like, I get it, and but this will pass, or you don't have to stay that way, or tomorrow's a new day, or some of those encouraging things, right? And we can kind of play that third person game of, it's just a thing. I'm just seeing it as a moment, and we're just observing as opposed to owning. All right, so just a couple things to think about when we're trying to be kind to ourselves. We're trying to be compassionate to ourselves. All right. So what are some dead good giveaways? I'm a big fan on saying, okay, I need some space, I need some time, I need to sit, I need to be um, as a gift to myself, to be kind to myself, right? Show compassion to myself. And so how do I do that? I think about pausing, I think about walking, I think about listening to something that helps me, kind of escaping, kind of creating a break, creating a pause. All right. You can do this by going find an empty room. If that's all you can do because you're at work, it's like, I can't go for a walk. I'd love to go for a walk. I can't go for a walk. Right where I am right now is beautiful. It's probably like 75 degrees. It's gonna be 80 degrees today. It's so easy. Just walk out the door and walk around the parking lot and just be out. Right, be by yourself. Put your AirPods in if you want. Right, but you can't do that. Is there an empty cubicle, an empty office, or something where you can just sit? Is there a way you can go find some water? I love water, right? And so it's like, go find some water, walk around a lake, sit next to a brook or a stream. Any of those things are really valuable, all right, to be able to do that. So if you can think that way, all right, and we're just gifting ourselves some space. We're gifting ourselves a moment, all right. So creating the physical change environment, the sitting, the pausing, the walking, nature does a lot of that for us as well, all right. And then what are we going to do? In that space, I like to do a couple things. I like to do the whole observation thing, right? So observation. So again, just have a conversation. What am I thinking? What do I feel? And just realize that this is just observation. This is just a thought and observation, as opposed to it is who I am. It is the reality of this week, and I can just get in that physical change. I can give myself observation time, right? And that's really valuable. And then how to push against that a little bit, right? We identify, right, which is fine. My heart tells me, and I identify that this is real for me right now, and that's fine. Sometimes that's peaceful. Just say, I've cleared it up. I was mushy. I was just having a feeling, but I'm being compassionate to myself. I'm not judging. I'm just identifying, giving myself space, is observing that that's just a moment, all right? But then I can push against that a little bit by gifting myself gratitude, right? I'm a big fan of gratitude in lots of ways, really in proactive, purposeful ways. But in this moment, what I like to do is come up with things that we're gracious and thankful for about ourselves, right? And it could start with, I'm breathing. I'm so thankful that I'm breathing right now. And what do I feel when I breathe? It can be that simplistic. But if you're feeling a little stronger, you would say, I'm very thankful that I've learned to be self-aware. I'm really thankful that I've noticed that I needed this moment. That was awesome. I'm really thankful that I have a purpose for what I'm going to do at the end of my day. Right? We can kind of go on and on with that, and just try to spend a couple minutes in gratitude for yourself. Gift yourself the acknowledgement of being thankful about things about yourself. Right? Another thing you can do when you're trying to be gratitude is try to think of the last compliment somebody paid you and own it. All right. I just like this activity because somebody else gifted it to you. So you don't have to manufacture it. You don't have to brainstorm about it. Just think, when was the last compliment? What was it? And then claim it as yours. And it's true. Somebody said, you're so thoughtful. It's like, I don't feel thoughtful right now. I didn't feel thoughtful then. I say, I am thoughtful. Somebody told me I'm thoughtful. I'm gonna thank myself for being thoughtful. Somebody else thought I was thoughtful. Okay. So claim it for you and be thankful for yourself that you are that person. All right. So anyway, those are a couple practice activities. We need to be self-compassionate for all the reasons we mentioned at the beginning of this, so that we can be better, we can be awesome at being compassionate for others. All right, so take a moment. You and I both are going to need to take a moment today, gift yourself some self-compassion so that we together can go out and change the world. Somebody is going to need you today. Are you ready?